And welcome to another episode of 50 Shades and Guide, a very special edition tonight because it was the last episode of My Mum, Your Dad. So I've got a couple of special guests with me just to review the season and our feelings on it and how we thought it all went. So I'm here with Zach. Hey, Zach, how you doing?
Hello, not bad, thank you.
And another special guest, Tia.
Woo! Hi, everyone.
Just first of all, a special welcome to Essex because you're officially living here now. You moved down, which is brilliant. So I hope you're settled well and I hope you enjoy your time in our lovely county and all it has to offer.
I'm sure I will. Once I'm off the air mattress, I'm sure I'll have a great time.
So overall, general feeling of the show, Zach, what do you think?
I thought it was really nice. I thought everyone was really genuine, great characters. Being honest, I think it lacked a bit of spice. I think, for example, we spoke to Paul after the first week, which I thought was good, really good, solid first week. And he said, oh, it really gets going in the second week. And I am still waiting. But I thought there'd be more turns, twists and turns. I just think everyone was so nice in there. And I thought this season, the one thing I said is I thought it'd be a lot more entertaining, and I use quotation marks because I think production wise I would have had a lot more twists and turns, a lot more triangles, a lot more back and forth, and it was just still sort of the same vibe. And I thought there'd be more figures in there to cause stirs and a few more arguments, but it was pretty much the same, but less so, I'd actually say. I think it was more smoother, more predictable. But I thought in terms of the characters in there, I thought everyone was really nice. Unfortunately, there wasn't many as connections as the first season, but that's how it is. You can't predict those things. But yeah, I thought everyone in there was lovely, genuine people, and I thought it was good. Yeah, I thought they made a few good additions and a few things they could maybe improve on next year. But yeah, I thought it was good. Really good.
Good. T?
I liked it. I feel like everyone seemed really, really lovely this year. I feel like everyone was really nice, really good relationships with their children as well. I think they did a really good job at not having it exactly the same as ours, obviously with them knowing that the kids were watching. I think they did a good job with that because I think it could have really just flopped and not worked.
Yeah, I agree.
It did work. Yeah, obviously it's just weird watching something what we've done ourselves. It's kind of a bit strange because obviously how it all works and stuff. And they probably did want maybe a few more connections, a few more twists and turns, but that's obviously down to who's in there and what connections are made and who comes in. So it obviously is hard to kind of manipulate that, I guess. But I liked it. It was good.
Yeah, I think same for me, really. I think that there was I think all the people in there were genuinely lovely. There was a couple of things about the dynamics of everyone that I wanted to address and come to at the end. There was a few odd things I couldn't work out. I didn't understand the 6v5 thing. Like there was only 5 girls, but yet there were 6 guys. So
yeah, I didn't get that.
I didn't know whether they were trying to sort of get the guys almost fighting over the girls, maybe, or you never know, someone might have dropped out the last minute. Yeah. I thought that was a little bit strange. What I did like was the session at the end where the kids all wrote the letters. I really like that because they all got a chance, all the parents got a chance to read the letters out. And I think that was really nice. I thought that was a really nice way of doing it. And it was a slight variation on the first series. So I really liked that, actually. I thought that was really good. I was really surprised. I don't know what you guys thought. The cut was quite brutal. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I feel like, because obviously ours, the cut was a lot earlier, wasn't it? Because obviously 2 people went, was it 4 people went home and then like 2, then 2 or whatever it was. So it kind of was gradual.
2, then
whereas
2.
It was just huge cut, bulk cut on obviously the second last episode, which meant that everyone did get a lot more airtime, I guess, and more time in the retreat, which was nice. But then they just cut them all. It was a bit like, what?
Yeah, I felt really sorry for the kids most of all because they looked more shocked than the adults. Actually, when they had that scene, it was the kids that suddenly realised they was going home. I think for the adults, it was kind of, they understood it. It was like, well, we haven't made a connection. We're not going to now. But I think the kids are like, well, we're enjoying this. We want to stay. So I really felt for them in that, actually. I know what, for you guys, when you lose people from that bunker, although you've only known each other a short time, it's quite wrenching, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, Zach got really upset, didn't you, Zach?
Yeah, I did, actually. When we had to cut 2 people, I did get quite upset at Christian and Carly going. It's extremely hard. Yeah, it was. Everyone was crying, not just me. But it is really difficult. But in terms of, for the kids, I mean, but in terms of the adults and from a production standpoint, with coming back to the cut, I do think it gets to a stage where they know there's not many connections, and you're right, the adults know that more importantly, and it's almost a stage where you squeeze probably as much as you can out of just sort of purely friend conversations and amicable conversations, and when there's no love in the air, it's almost pointless them being there, and it gets to a stage where it's the finale's coming, they're there for dating, and otherwise you're just watching loads of really lovely people just talk about past experiences, and that's not what the show's about to an extent. Once you get to the end, I think that's a process of building and sort of self-development, but once you get to those last 2 episodes, it's mostly about the couples potentially that are budding and in a romantic fashion, and what they've learned and how they've built those relationships. So I do think it's quite brutal, more for the kids, but I think that's just because they have a hell of a time in there.
Yeah, and I feel like
But it was no surprise watching.
I feel like with the adults as well, like probably after a while, like I don't know, because obviously you did it, Elliot, but it probably gets a bit awkward if you're there and you've got no one who you fancy and stuff, and you can't, because obviously you're there to make a connection, whereas us kids are there. I know obviously we're watching our parents, but we haven't met on that romantic level, so everyone's just got this really good friendship and we feel like a proper group. It feels like a proper group dynamic, whereas I think with the parents, obviously it is twos and whatever kind of friendships and stuff. So when we lose someone out of the kids, it's more of a shock. It's like, oh my God, someone's leaving our group. Whereas in the adults retreat, it's a bit more separate, I guess, because you're not meeting in that group setting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're not. But what I would say is that when people go, especially on the first one, and probably even with the second one and the third one, if they do it, carry on, you're never not sure that other people aren't going to come in, because you're so used to watching like the Love Islands and the other ones where there's constant people coming in all the time. So you're never quite secure until you get to, and which we're going to get to now, those final dates. So after the cut, all that we were left with was Paul, David and Danny. And then we were left with Jenny, Steph and Vicky. Now, I think two of the couples we were, you weren't surprised by. I wasn't surprised that they took Paul and, not Beth, Steph. Did you say Steph? Okay, I thought you said Beth.
No.
I wasn't surprised that they took Paul and Steph, because I think they needed a third couple to try and sort of see if they connected. But I thought it was, I don't know, I couldn't tell actually, and knowing Paul as I do, I couldn't actually tell whether or not there was a connection there or not. That was quite difficult. So I thought there might have been, but they seemed to realise quite quickly on their date that, they liked each other as friends, and that was as far as it was going, as far as going to go. Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I was waiting for, and I think they edited it in that way. I was waiting for Vicky to sort of turn around and say she wasn't feeling it with David.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why. I think that it was because I watched it that way, where they kept showing her sort of on her own, thinking about stuff, and I was thinking, I'm not sure if she's that into him, which is a shame because I think he's a really nice guy.
See, I really get it the other way. Like, I feel like when I've watched it, that she's really keen, but she feels like he's not as keen on her, so that's why was doubting things. Like, I was feeling sorry for her because I thought, oh, like, I think she really likes him, but he just wasn't kind of shown that all of the time. So I watched it the other way, I guess. So maybe they both just really like each other if we both thought either person liked each other more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then obviously it was Jenny and then Danny. I felt that they'd sort of made them like the main focus point. I think that was quite obvious that they were sort of pushing them forward. And there was little things like the speech at the dinner at the end. You can tell the ones that they're sort of going to like push forward after the show as well. I thought those two were really good together. They seemed really keen on each other. So good luck to them sort of moving forward. I was a bit confused by the dates. because like knowing the dates that the final dates that we all went on, I don't know. I was surprised. I was waiting for Danny and Denny's. I thought they were going to do something else. Like I thought, like when they first sat in that cinema, I thought Ed Sheeran's going to be behind the curtain singing, or someone of great note was going to be behind. And then when it opened, then it was like, "This is your story." I was thinking, it's only 2 weeks ago. They know what their story is. Give them something to do.
They're not seen us.
Yeah, I thought people were going to start
I
coming
felt
through
really
the
bad.
audience.
Yeah, I thought there was, and then when they left it, I was thinking, right, what are they going to do now? And I was like, was that it? That's all they got?
Probably only 5 minutes.
Well, Paul and I mean, they must have known that Paul and Steph were going to go friends, because it looked like they just sent him around the corner to the pub and got a drink. Like, just sit down there, that'll do. And the other two lucked out. They got the air balloon. They turned up. They got a great big air balloon. They're loving life.
The best one.
Yeah, that was the pick. That was the pick of the dates, actually. That one.
Definitely.
That's definitely been the most expensive one they've done.
Yeah. Well, I think Roger and Janie had a helicopter. Yeah, Paul and Nat had a really nice day because they got a boat, didn't they? So I think your mum and myself went to the vineyard, which is beautiful. So I thought all those days, and mine got sent on a train. That was awful. When he came back and went, I went on a train, I was like, oh, that's not great.
Mom loved it.
Yeah,
Mom
but they all,
I
thought, I think she was acting. I think that was just good acting. Yeah, and going on a train with a tea. But but I thought all those days. But these ones, they were a little bit strange. But for me, the best part of the show, which I thought was brilliant, and I thought it was a big improvement on our show, was the 2 months later. I thought that was fantastic. I really did. Where they actually, because I did feel like on our show that it was like, you guys have all met someone, and it was almost like all the others that hadn't were just forgotten. Which, I don't think for our age group that are all single, we're not all going to meet someone. And I think that needs to be sort of like recognised as almost like, listen, if you don't meet someone, life goes on. There's a lot of way to love that. There's a lot of way to love out there. You got grandkids, you got kids, you've got, your work, and you don't have to love someone. You don't have to be with someone. But what I thought was brilliant this time was they showed everyone 2 months later where they are and what they're doing. And what was your guys' take on that?
I loved it. I think it was literally the best part of the whole show. I just thought it was really interesting. But I also think it's good from a viewer point of view, because obviously if you're watching a program for 2 weeks and you get really invested, you dine and then know what happens. And I think it was almost disappointing at the end of Hours that then they didn't tell us what happened, because we know that it was pre-filmed. So then therefore to then not know what happens after, but like, oh, they haven't even said. Whereas this time it was quite nice to see that and see everyone's little paragraphs and stuff. And then even watch people who were still single, like doing their own thing and stuff. That was just really, really nice. It was like a nice little touch that I wish we'd had.
Yeah.
You could easily watch a whole episode on that 2 months later, all their little journeys.
Yeah. Well, like you always say that. Sorry, you always say that like the best part of the show is the relationships between the parents and their child, but it's the one part of the show that you don't really see a lot, because obviously you see it on the first episode and then you don't see it again. Whereas I think if that was like a bit longer and you actually saw the bond between the parent and the child, that'd be so much fun. Like imagine seeing you two together, like that'd be hilarious. Like a lot more in the show than what we did. In the same with like all the parents in this one, like Maria and Livia and all them, like they have a really good bond, but we don't really get to see that. So it was nice to see that little bit of relationship at the end. I think that was really good.
Yeah, like for me, I thought that was by far and away like a stroke of genius. That bit, I thought that was the best bit. Sorry, Zach, was you going to say something?
No, I wasn't. I'll say Tia's right with the interaction between the parent and the kids. That's what I think people love watching. However, I thought this year they was going to have more interactions like that, and with parents and the kids during the show. That's something I thought they was going to have a lot more of, where they'd involve the kids and almost get them involved maybe in some of the challenges. I know that's not what the show's about, but the fact now they know the kids are watching, I thought there'd be more involvement in terms of involving everyone, maybe certain challenges, or the kids sort of making more decisions on the adults. But it's very hard, like you said, Dad, when you have a limited number of people going in. But when
Yeah.
you're only there 2 weeks, like compared to Love Island, it's probably very similar ratio.
Well,
But Love Island's on for 2 months, so
yeah,
it's
I'm going to stop you there because that's something that I want to come to in a minute, mate. Actually, so I don't want you stealing my
ruining
thunder.
it.
Yeah, ruining that for me. But thanks. But glad you said that. The only thing that I will say on these 2 months later, again, there was a massive disparity between what people were doing. Some people got the skydive out of a plane. Poor Paul, Christian, and bloody Chris, they sat him on a hill. I mean, I'm hoping they got a good meal out of it afterwards. But the three of them they got a 3-for-1 deal. They just sat all three of them on a hill. Only Steph, who turned up late anyway in the show, she got to go skydiving. I couldn't work that one out. There was horse riding, there was dancing classes. 2 people were just in their own kitchen, so they had to save money there. I just thought sort of do similar things with all of them.
Yeah, then Maisie wasn't even on it, was that?
No, she didn't get to go in because she was on the show again. So that was like, you can go on the show, but you can't be in the 2 months later edit.
Yeah, and because your dad's been on, it can only walk up a hill, and we're just going to film it on a hill. Yeah,
so
because he didn't meet anyone. Yeah.
So what I wanted to get to now, and you started to cover it just now, Zach. I'm going to go because I was thinking, like a couple of things that just occurred to me. One I thought was a really good idea for 5 seconds, and then realised it was a horrific idea. I was going to say, how would it work if the kids were actually in the house with the parents? Hello.
I think it'd be a nightmare production wise. I think to capture that, the amount of people, it'd probably be too many.
Yeah, I also feel like the parents, if they didn't have any connection, they would just go with their kid, and not as in like just because the kid is their safety blanket, so they'd end up just having time with their kid. Whereas I think because you get put into a retreat where you've not really got anyone but time to make connections, it kind of forces you to chat more. Whereas like, let's say you didn't make a connection with my mom, and there was like no one you fancied, you and Zach probably would have just like cracked on like in the pool and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like had a free holiday.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say was, I think what they need to consider, listen, and they do because they're great at their jobs. But so how many people, and I haven't got a precise number, so it's a ballpark figure, would you say are in Love Island in one series?
45.
Yeah, like 35, 45 in that region.
Yeah. So
45.
Yeah, it's over 30, and then it varies. Yeah. I mean, obviously the show goes on for 8 weeks. When you only and don't forget, these are younger people that know what they want a lot less. So I don't mean that in any detrimental way, but that they're sort of just experimenting with everyone. So they're still sort of happy to sort of date one person one day, dating up. Like when you're older, you know what you want and you know what you don't want a lot quicker. So just to put 6 guys and 6 girls together, it's a really tough job to hope they're gonna match up. And I think on the first episode, they got 3 couples that genuinely thought they'd make a go of it, which all 3 did. For your man and myself, T. Obviously that didn't work out, and the same for Paul and Natalie. But it weren't from not trying; it was just finding out more about each other, and you realise that you don't suit each other's lives or not compatible. But I think they need to think about, because the problem is as well, speaking to a couple of the people from this show, they're like, I turned up when they turn up on the lawn, you look around and immediately go, there's no one here that I like not in a sort of, but in a visual way, because that's what you go off first of all. They are your first instincts.
Of course. It's the process for making the show, like you said, Dad, is very similar, only because it airs the same time, so it's in back of my mind. But in terms of the production wise, it's very similar to Married at First Sight in the sense that when they put on the show, and this season, which is interesting to see who they actually put together, is every year they obviously have maybe a few options, a couple options, but they think of every probably participant and they think, right, I think they're going to be a good match for so and so. Like, for example, on season 1, I'm fully aware that they put Paul and Natalie together, as in they were going to be a very good match, and they had extremely high hopes they'd hit it off, which they did. I think you was a bit of a curveball, but you didn't give them a lot in terms of type wise and stuff. But in terms of this season, I think they would have had different individuals and had them pegged down for maybe certain individuals. But I think it's very hard because, like you said, it's similar to Married at First Sight. They go through that, weigh up probably their characteristics, what they like, what they don't, which they gather through the interview process. But then as soon as you get there and you look at them, I know some people say they're slow burners, but maybe it's more for the guys, I don't know. But you look around, if you don't know anyone, it's then really difficult because then you have to do 2 weeks on a show where you don't like anyone. And now you know the process, like coming on like this year and next year going forward, you're basically leaving it because you don't like anyone. And it's like, what do you do? And it's very difficult because it is about the process, but it's also about entertainment. So you want to grab as much sort of romantic moments as you can. But I think more participants, they either make it 3 weeks so you can get probably another 4 or 5 people on there. But I don't know how this would go down. Like, for example, Love Island, you have the Casa Amors, or etc., etc. But if you had like a speed dating, say, for example, your season, Dad, and you came in and you had one episode, let's say, where 6 random women came in for a speed date with all the
Love this.
guys, I know you would, and you literally, like you would, as in like the guys, because it'd be like, say, 6 women came in, you have 6 dates, and all the guys, let's say at the end of it, decide to bring in one woman into the house.
Great idea.
Do you know what I'm saying, though? But then I don't know how older viewers, not saying your old dad, but older viewers, where Love Island, it's brutal, where you can have 2, 3 episodes where people come in for their 5 minutes of fame, they get 2 minutes of airtime, and then they pack your bag, see you later, no one's picked you, you've gone home. So in 2 episodes at Casa and More, they're not needed, they're not in the script, etc., and they're gone. But do you think that would take in an older show with an older audience, where you get individuals with probably great stories, really genuine people that come in for 5 minutes in an episode, then get kicked out? I don't know if viewers would like that, or that's the vibe they're going for. But
I think that's the biggest thing. They're very, and we noticed that in our show, which we thought was great by them, is that they want to make it very different to Love Island, but at the same time, they are producing a show, and if it is a dating show, and I think that's what happened on this show, and I think one of you summed it up really well, it became like the kids' bunker in the house. Like, everyone was so nice and they all got on, but they're there to meet people. But if there's no one there that they go, a couple of them did, and that's great, but the others a bit, like you say, like, they know what they want, they know what they don't want, and if they go, he's really nice or she's really nice, but not for me, what else do they do?
No, it's really difficult. And as much as people there'll be a lot of people saying, oh, no, I really want to watch just completely authentic, really genuine, nice people. But at the end of the day, like, take our season, and this season's been really good as well. But I can only talk about this season, my season, because I know it a lot better. But you have characters in there that, for example, for Martin, not everyone loved him, but he serves a purpose, and it's entertainment because you get people not liking him. And I feel a bit bad of Martin here, not going in him, but he played a good role. You have your Roger stories. You have, like, Danny had a great story this year. Like, what a great story! But it's like you need different elements to just elevate that entertainment level. And I know viewers may be like, oh yeah, but it's not about that. But at the end of the day, it is, because I think in order for a show to grow and keep excelling, it needs those different layers, those different facets, which make a show a show. And it's really difficult, because I know the producers, like, from our show, are really keen on keeping that authenticism and that wholesome sort of aspect and nature to the show. But at the end of the day, it's entertainment, and it'd be really interesting how quickly they sanction the 3rd series. Actually, I can't remember when they did it for our show. Was it in Jan? Because they started selection process probably earlier. So it'll be really interesting to see if how quickly they sanction another show. But it's, I don't know how they can do it. But me personally, I would bring in more people, maybe extend the process to 2.5 weeks next time. But then it's how many episodes you get, and that's to do with budget again. So there's a lot of factors that come into it. But purely from a viewer for the 3rd season, if they make one, I think it'd be a good idea to bring in more people and maybe not have them stay, but have more faces on screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's hard. It's hard.
I think for any show that like and we're guessing at this, and they're pros and they know what they're doing, and we're just watching it. But for me, any show that you go to that you have a hero, and then you can tell which one they're going to make like the hero, the couple. Every time there's a hero, they're only a hero because they're made to be a hero by the villain. You know, there needs to be a villain, and that's what Martin did fantastically well. Is people need someone to hate sometimes, you know, because as much as they don't like them, they carry on watching them because they want to know what they're going to hate about them next. Like, you know, and that's what Martin did really, really well. And and they didn't have that this year because they were so nice. You know,
it's not.
And if they'd have thrown, you know, can you imagine if they'd have thrown Martin M in there, like after Paul? You know, he would have caused havoc, wouldn't he? Absolute havoc.
Yeah, of course. And it's not even just
and then that's not great in terms of what they're looking for, like you said, Zach, that wholesome bit. But entertainment wise, watching it,
completely. And it's not just like, not then just to pick on Martin to change sort of the avenue. It's not just wholly about one set and stone villain. It's also about little twists and turns. So take, for example, to not just pick on the guys as well. It's like Mon, for example. What Mon done, like some people didn't like how you sort of had a sort of great love triangle going on with Mon, where Martin M was showing her a lot of interest, really fancied her. And everyone was like, oh, really love Martin, big Martin. And then she sort of really liked sort of Martin H. So Ibiza Martin. Sorry, I mean Martin H. Really liked Ibiza Martin. So there was people then getting annoyed with that sort of situation where she went another avenue. And it's little twists and turns like that, which it's not just one set in stone villain. I think Martin sort of is pictured and put up in that light. But there was also little things that viewers sort of watched and got into where they got invested, were emotionally invested with that. Oh, why are you doing that? Or why is he gone that way? Or why is she even considering him? Or do you know what I mean? I think it's little things like that just make it purely entertaining. But yeah, it's really difficult getting that fine line, and I think they've done it well. The season's been really good. It's been really genuine and just filled with really, really nice people. And it's a shame there weren't more connections. But like you said, Dad, you sort of know when you come in. And the only thing I'd say about this season is I could have probably told you after the first few episodes what was going to happen. That's the only thing I'd say, is it was pretty much
predictable.
Yeah, it's a little bit predictable. And that's not always a bad thing, but it was pretty much predictable after maybe the first 5, once you sort of saw Vicky and David. But maybe that was with the first season, but maybe predictability is not a bad thing, but it depends what you're looking for, and each viewer will be completely independent what they like.
Just final words, T, anything to add?
I feel like I agree with the whole more people thing. I think we don't know what ITV were thinking when they basically auditioned every person. Like, they could have had someone that they were rooting for to be the villain, but they may have went in there and then not played up to what they were like in their interview. Do you know what I mean? Like, they could have been like, oh, he'll definitely cause a stir, but then they didn't act like that. So you don't know how people's going to act when they meet everyone.
Yeah.
Therefore, I feel like if there was more people going in, there's more opportunity for people to have those like triangles and a bit more of like a villain and all these different kind of storylines, because there's more like opportunity to. Whereas when there's only like 12 people, 12 people, it's quite hard for like there'd be so many different opportunities for like a fun story. But I think if you just get them in there, maybe everyone has at least like 4 days, and then get them out of not bringing anything at the table, then they can like try again, like try and find some other people who might create a good narrative, and then keep them doing it like that, and maybe do the process for 3 weeks rather than 2. I think it would just make it a bit more juicy, juicy, keep people entertained for next year, because I don't know how they're going to do it again a third time, like keeping it exactly the same.
Yeah, I agree.
We've changed it a little bit this time from ours, which obviously is really exciting, but I think watching those changes again for a third time might be a bit like, okay,
Yeah, well, listen, guys, thanks for joining us. It's just a quick review of it. This is the unofficial review of My Mum, Your Dad. Thank you for joining Fitzchosen and Gray for this special one-off with Tia and Zach. Guys, thank you so much. Hopefully I'll be seeing you, Zach, I'll see you tomorrow. And T, hopefully I'll catch up with you. T, hopefully. But thank you for coming on. Guys, don't forget to subscribe below. You can, obviously, I'll put all Tia's handles on there so you can follow her and Zach's as well. Don't really want you look at Zach's stuff. It's not really interesting. And we'll catch up and we'll see you all soon. And you can also catch the podcast that I did with Andy Pearce. So if you wanted to know a little bit more about Andy's background in terms of thoughts on dating and where he's been, because he's got he's a really nice guy, actually, Andy, and he's got a nice little story. So go on there, catch up and watch that and watch all the other podcasts and let us know your feedback. But have great weekends. Well done to ITV and My Mum, Your Dad Series 2. Great job. Like we said, love the 2 months later bit. Maybe you should do a year and 2 months later for our show. That'd be great. Let's see where everyone is. But we'll catch up and we'll see you all soon. Take care, guys. Bye.